Hello there, everyone. Welcome to Talking Tennis. Jannik Sinner versus Ben Shelton, and joining me on my left is a very familiar face. Again.
Yeah, we were meeting at basically the same time as yesterday. It was just yesterday that we watched Tsitsipas against Team. 5:30 p.m. local time Vienna. 5:30 p.m. local time Vienna is where we're meeting today. Yesterday that was due to Tiafoe, Evans retiring. This time it was
Yeah,
just two short matches at first, so that's why it's sort of on time because that's the scheduling was not before 5:30. They are already on the court, right, warming up, and
yeah,
we've just seen that one in Shanghai a couple of weeks ago.
yeah. We have, and that was a third set tiebreak, and Ben Shelton's serve was unbelievable in that match, as it as that's one of the pillars of his game, and it will need to be unbelievable again to stop Jannik Sinner for the second time in a row. But as of right now, they haven't actually started. They're showing Darren Cahill, and they're just warming up. And as far as other action for today concerns, what were some of the other highlights for you? I just woke up in the morning, kind of very recently, so I didn't
Uh-huh.
able to catch anything in Vienna before this.
From Vienna, I did catch a few games of Monfils Meyer during dinner because my dad was watching it. Then Goyo Karatsev, I did not watch at all, but it went sort of the way I thought it would, with Karatsev coming from Tokyo. Shelton's also coming from Tokyo, but I don't know. Maybe for him it's gonna matter less, hopefully, because then we might not get a match. Whereas, yeah, Kachanov Lehechka I didn't catch at all, but just hear that it was the usual Lehechka performance when he's really off. Whereas Medvedev feels I did watch quite a while of that. I mean, it was just sort of what you expected with Fields coming out to play. Then Medvedev just shrinking the court really well, eventually getting the errors, and there were plenty of them, especially on the backhand side. I think Fields was at like 17 unforced errors or something like that. So
Mm.
yeah, couldn't really win that much at all. 6-4, 6-2 is probably a little bit too much, but at the same time, he never came close to breaking Medvedev. He never generated a break point. In fact, he only won 5 points on the Medvedev serve. So even if maybe he could have held a couple more times, it still wasn't really all that close. So far, I guess a pretty underwhelming lineup. I mean, only favorites triumphing, unless Karatsev was the favorite over Goyo. I'm not actually sure, but for me, Goyo was one. And yeah, so Vienna so far, well, it was pretty close, I guess, with Karatsev having some degree of an edge. So far, just favorites. Obviously, Sinner is the big favorite here, but I'm hoping that it's not going to be that easy for him, even though I do consider him the favorite, unlike in Shanghai.
Yeah. How do you think the court conditions uh, favor both guys? Because obviously in Shanghai it was outdoor hard court and you know faster, but with heavier balls. How does
Huh.
it?
I mean, Shelton, we haven't really seen indoors too much yet, right? Like on the ATP tour, at least.
Yeah.
I guess he played something in Auckland at the beginning of the season because they had all these rain there, right? And all this rain, and then they were sort of forced to hold a lot of the matches indoors. So I think he played a couple there, maybe definitely against Baez and maybe against Alice, but I'm not sure. But before that, I guess you have to go to the U.S. Challengers, and obviously he was great there. Do they play similarly to Vienna? Probably not. But I wouldn't expect too much trouble in terms of that for Shelton. Maybe a slight edge to Sinner because like slower indoor hard courts. That's always been his favorite. Sofia, he's played there
Yeah.
so well, and yeah, Montpellier as well. Probably more favorable to Sinner, but it's not that Shelton should have some issues. It's just we haven't really seen him at like the top
Yeah.
level of the game in such conditions yet.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right about Yannick. Success on indoor hard court, particularly these type of courts like Sofia, Antwerp.
Yeah,
You know, uh,
yeah, Montpellier is probably a little
yeah, of
different, but
course.
still, yeah, he's picked up so many titles, and
Yeah.
is I think there was a point generally that like maybe a year ago, a lot of people made that if there was an indoor slam, Sinner would really love it, which still sort of holds up, but at the same time, recently he's done enough to probably think of him as a contender for the other slams as well.
I suppose so, but then you would also have to think that oh, maybe Runa would be in there as one of the best indoor players so far of his generation, and then Felix, as
Uh,
maybe what Felix was last year.
yes,
Let's put it that way.
last year, yes,
Felix
yes.
was last year.
I mean, last year, clearly, if you had an indoor hardcourt slam in like October, then Felix would be among the three main favorites. Then
Yeah,
again, at the ATP finals, he actually was a little disappointing.
yeah, yeah. That's right. He only won the one match in the ATP finals against Rafa.
Yeah, and who did he lose to at first match? That was like the main
Well, he lost.
moment
He
he
lost to Rude. Uh,
Rude. Yeah, that was the moment he lost it, obviously, because that was well, that was one that you would expect him to get
Speaking of
in the
Rude,
form that he was in.
Rude
Yeah,
did get the first set over Bublik in a
yeah.
tie break.
I
Second
haven't
set.
been watching that. I just saw that Bublik took an MTO as well after the first set, so we'll see how that transpires. Fritz was in real trouble today against Purcell, but he managed to dig himself out of it. I think
Oof.
Shevchenko will not be an easy matchup for
I
him,
was
though.
about to add that to the list of upsets.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Yesterday
Me
when
too.
I saw that he's playing Purcell, I'm like, yeah,
Y-
this could be very tricky.
Oh, Purcell. I
Yeah.
am adding Shevchenko over Fritz actually
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. No,
for
I could see that
tomorrow.
too. I could see that too. I watched a little bit of his match against Wawrinka, particularly the second set tiebreak. The
Okay.
backhand winner down the line he hit on match point.
Yeah. Yeah, second set was a little weaker than the first. Like in the first, he was really pushing Wawrinka around with the forehand,
Yeah,
especially. But yeah, that of course there were a few spectacular backhand winners down the line in the last few games. I think two in the tiebreak,
yeah,
one like early and then match point. Yeah,
yeah. He was like changing directions really well. He was moving Wawrinka around, getting him to block on shots on his forehand, and then he was really in control of a lot of the points. He was,
yeah.
you know,
It wasn't just Wawrinka's power, dominating the
yeah,
play, which you would probably expect. I did think it was possibly it was possibly going to be an upset because, well, Stan I would much rather see in Vienna. Of course, he's not going to do that because that's
yeah.
not his
He
home
does not
event.
have a good record in Basel. Like I think he
Um,
might even be like around 500. I haven't actually checked, but he's never made a deep
like
run there as
he's
my
made
world.
a semi, I think, and like a couple of quarters, which
Yeah,
sort of comparing to what you would usually expect from him maybe isn't the best. But yeah, that's the way I look at it as well. I mean, I know he has a lot of good runs there, like in terms of quarters, semis, but yeah, it's not really enough for me to say that it's a fantastic event for him. It's still something that he plays every single year
yes,
at home. Like you would expect him to do more, but I think yeah, simply Vienna would be more suitable to his game. Just give him more time to set up for the strokes and
yeah,
probably a little better for him. But well, um, it's just 1 week of the year. I definitely appreciate him just sticking with Basel. I'm pretty sure that Stan knows it too. That Vienna could be a
yeah,
little maybe more comfortable for him.
yeah. I wonder
Well,
where
another
I wonder where Stan will choose to say goodbye. If he has
oh,
the option to choose to say goodbye, and it's not just one of those.
where is he
Mistake.
from? In
Is it Geneva? Maybe. I mean,
I was thinking
he's
like
a good.
Lausanne or Geneva. Let me check.
Yeah,
Lausanne, yeah, I
yeah,
was
he's
right
from
with the
Lausanne.
Lausanne. So
Yeah,
Lausanne, there's no possibility to say the Lausanne. I don't know Swiss geography all that well. I have to look at the map.
that would be a cool story if he ended up like I don't know winning a title in Geneva on clay.
Yeah, I
Wins
was
the
thinking of
250 and then
Geneva
retires.
too.
Wins the 250
Yeah.
and then retires, and then that'd be like his second to last title, and his last title were in Geneva.
So Geneva would make sense geographically because Lausanne is on Lake Geneva and it's like really close. Well, really close, like
Yeah,
50 kilometers probably. So I think geographically it would make sense. In terms of like where it is in the season, it depends. Like I could imagine him checking out in Geneva if he has like a ranking of 300 and cannot play Roland Garros after that. But I think if he could play Roland Garros after Geneva, why not Paris then? Or honestly, either of the slams, right? I mean, he's won everything but Wimbledon. Why not?
Yeah, yeah. So we did have a break point for Sinner early on. But
Ooh, yeah, I just saw how he missed that last one.
he just missed it. Yeah.
Yeah. Earlier, I think I wanted to say that also the big problem for Wawrinka in his puzzle records was, of course, the fact that Federer played it every year. And I think
Yeah.
for like 12 years in a row, he made the final. I actually didn't check how many times he was the one to stop Stan, but I do remember like at least one and maybe two matches. Well, I know it's not much, but
Yeah.
still, it's a thing. Well, Djokovic as well in 2009, Federer in 2011.
Yeah.
So I guess it's just twice really. But 2019 they were supposed to play in the quarters and Stan withdrew. But yeah, there was this one poor patch between 2012 and 2015 where Wawrinka actually never won a match in Basel. So yeah,
Mm.
what we said earlier, I think it holds up.
Yeah, for sure. Of course, last year he did manage to win a couple of matches. He beat Rude there actually in Basel last year, and Nakashima. I remember that match. um,
Yeah.
yeah, he beat Nakashima and Rude, and then lost to Bautista Agut.
Earlier in the chat, TOPS Tops, I guess, was saying that he expects Sinner to win easily. Shelton is going to be tired. It is a
I
possibility.
I expect Sinner to win, but I don't know about easily, because I still think Ben will be fresh enough to hold serve plenty of times. He'll be, you know,
I mean, it was Sunday when he played in Tokyo.
yeah,
He's also well, is he actually? Let me think about it. Yeah, he's also on the good side of like traveling through time zones here, right? Because when he made his way to Europe, he sort of had a few more additional hours. So I wonder if playing on Wednesday probably should be fine. I think, and then again, the Karatsev argument, I guess, sort of contradicts that. But it's also Aslan Karatsev, so
yes. I was just gonna say,
what else you
yeah,
can expect, really? We were talking about Fritz Purcell. Yeah, Struff just didn't deliver at all today. That was quite surprising against Hurkacz. And also Giron, another Tokyo survivor, right? I mean, he ended his Tokyo run a day earlier than Karatsev or Shelton, but he actually had a match point against Marcos Giron. So maybe
yeah,
that's a counter argument to that. But we'll see. I mean, Wednesday definitely helps. If this was not an indoor event and they wanted to get all of their first round matches done by Tuesday, that would be a real issue for Shelton or Karatsev. But Wednesday, I think he should be more or less fine.
for Basel, I'm still sticking to my prediction that Hurkacz is gonna win the title. So,
I said that too earlier this week. Yeah, I agree. If he beats the Minor, he should be fine to win the title. I think.
mhm.
Like that's
And
the main
is he
issue.
not already in the quarters? He is, right?
Yeah, he is.
Okay,
He's
yeah.
gonna be in the quarters today, and the winner of uh, one more match. Murray Echeverry, yeah.
Yeah,
And in Vienna, we already have Kachanov in the quarters, and we're
yeah.
gonna have the winner of Zverev Nori in there as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
this is another,
Mhm.
this is another productive time for Zverev, because he usually does very well at the ATP finals, and he's won Vienna before. I
Yeah,
think he's made Paris Masters final before. So I mean, he lost early in his last couple of tournaments, but I think this is where he really turns it on.
we'll see about that. I mean, Nori definitely seems very beatable for him right now. The head-to-head is actually just 3-2 for him, but the last win for Cam was in 2014, and that was when Zverev was 16, I believe. So that's, by the way, the same challenger where I think Zverev played Lee 2 when in 2014. So that was a bit of a crazy story when Lito had that big moment getting the Australian Open wildcards. I remember checking out his results before that 7-year hiatus, and and then seeing that he played Zverev in 2014 in an Australian Challenger, and I think he got thrashed by Zverev there. But Cam Norrie beat him. Of course, all of the matches in like more usual, time when they were both on the main tour, both in the prime or like entering the prime of their careers, they all went Zverev's way. And Norrie definitely not the strongest moment right now, so you would expect him to come through. Zverev, I mean.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you haven't been watching much of the WTA Elite Trophy, right?
The
Given
hours
the
are just
time zone.
horrible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the hours are terrible for me. I basically cannot watch a ball of it. But I did manage to catch some highlights yesterday. And I woke up to Kazakina beating Krejcikova, which is a big result in that group because, I mean, Kazakina just has to win her next round against Lynette and then she's through.
Yeah, but on the other hand now, well, I guess it's sort of impossible for Linette to go through now, because if
Yeah.
Kasatkina won in 2 sets, then it would be still possible. But yeah, right now
Mm,
she cannot advance, I think,
yeah.
anymore. Krejcikova has a set and a win, so Linette can't catch her, and Kasatkina has a match won. So yeah,
I'm,
basically Linette cannot catch Krejcikova anyway. I haven't been following the event too much. It honestly
yeah.
doesn't really get me going whatsoever. I don't know. I would much rather see WTA next gen finals, rather
Yeah, that's what I've always
than
been pushing
this.
for because there'd be so many great players under 21, and there are so many right now.
I'm actually
Like,
gonna check that,
get it? Yeah,
but I
and
have to check under 22, right? Because
yeah,
it's still
like
21-year-olds. So Coco Gauff obviously wouldn't play, but Qinwen Zheng
yeah,
could. But after that, you have Leila Fernandez, Marta Kostiuk,
mm,
Linda Noskova,
yeah.
Mira Andreeva, Diana Schneider, Elina Vanessian, Camila Osorio, and Ashlyn Kruger in the
Yeah,
next
it's not
eight.
bad.
Yeah, you could maybe see Clara Towson getting there if she played some 125Ks. She's pretty close through Virtova as well. That's really the end of it. And these players are all in the top 100. Lots of them as well below the age of 21, like Andreeva, of course, 16, Noskova, 18, Kruger,
Yeah.
19, Tossen still 20, Schneider, 19. So, yeah, that would be a very exciting event. And I think the Elite Trophy sort of just doesn't feel like that the stakes are there for me. Like, you
Well, and then
have the
also
trophy, of course, but
and then
I
I
don't
was
know.
gonna say also the format itself. I wonder if they'd be better off doing three groups of four or something, and then maybe doing like a best kind of like a United Cup last year, where it was like because if you just do four groups of three,
Hmm.
yes, they count all the games and sets and everything, but basically you need to win both matches to like get in. I mean, you could go 1-1 and then you might
Well,
get
if
in.
you don't, it's a huge mess. If you go
Then it's
1-1 and the
yeah,
other players as well, it's just a huge mess. I don't know, but at the same time, I just absolutely hate that format where there's a ranking of best second placed teams or players, because it's so arbitrary, and like you're not playing the same players in the groups. So what's the purpose of really comparing these records?
yeah,
Um,
oh yeah.
I think with the current format, they just sort of acknowledge that this is not um, I don't want to say not a serious event. Of course, it's a serious event, but I just think they sort of acknowledge that it's not the most important thing in the world to make it 100% fair.
Mm,
And I guess that's why no one really complains about the format. It's not perfect. I mean, the perfect format for everything like that is clearly four players, four groups, or four
yes,
players, two groups, and then there's clarity. Everything is certain. So basically, if they just did it as the WTA finals do it, that would be okay.
yeah.
And well, it would be less players. Obviously, we wouldn't see Magdalinette. We wouldn't see, I don't know who else was like last. We would probably still
Yeah,
get a wild card.
it's 12
So
instead of 8. So then it would
yeah,
be like I mean four groups.
whoever got last, I think it was definitely. I think it was Linette, Vekic, and someone else. Linju probably would be there because they would still grant her the wild card, but
I guess
cannot
she
play it.
justified her wild card spot. by beating Kurumoto.
Uh, yeah, absolutely. Not that she needed to, she was like 30th in the rankings from the home country.
Yeah.
Different idea though for the WTA finals, WTA Elite Trophy than they have at the next gen finals, where at least in previous years, because it's not actually a rule, so I don't know if it's gonna hold up. But when they had an Italian qualifier, they just skipped the wildcard entirely. Whereas here they have a Chinese player in, but they skip but they still give the wildcard to Linju.
Hmm.
Alexandra Ayala, I don't think she would make the next gen finals, John. I'm sorry. Matthew says that this is a free hit for Shelton. If he wins, it's another indicator of how good his mentality is to back up next week. Yeah, sure. I think there's very little pressure on Shelton here.
Yeah.
Come out, play, and let's see.
Yes.
If I win, fantastic. If I don't, it's just I still have last week. And if I win, and if I win a few more matches, then maybe suddenly even ATP finals is possible. But I
Yeah.
think for that to happen, like he would actually need to win the title. And that's when we can maybe start thinking about it. But it would be a ridiculous physical effort if he then followed it up with a run in Paris. Then again, Ben Shelton is known to perform 3 weeks in a row, He's done it on one occasion, and who knows? Maybe it looks like this year we might not get our annual three challengers in a row winner. In 2021, there were two. In 2022,
Yeah.
there was Ben Shelton, but this year we are running out of time.
Who was the second in 2021?
Who is the first that you're thinking of? Then I can tell you who's the second.
I mean, you had Brooksby, right?
No, actually, it's Taron
Or
Grigspor and
wait,
Benjamin
are you talking
Bonzi.
about at the end of the year or like just three in a row?
Just three in a row. 3 weeks in a row, also, right? Like there can't be any breaks between them.
Yeah, yeah, Greek Sport and Bonzi. Okay.
Green
Yeah,
Sport or
yeah,
Bonzi, yeah.
yeah,
Bonzi won it in like September, and actually Greek Sport just a couple of weeks
yeah.
later, I
Okay.
think September, October.
Greek
And
Sport.
Shelton in 2022 was the youngest player to ever do it in November. Brooksby won a few challengers in 2021. I can't remember if like 3 or 4, but they weren't
Yeah, they weren't
consecutive.
in a row. Yeah.
He won in South Africa. He won in the States, and I don't know, maybe one more in the States. I'm not actually sure. Definitely one Potchefstroom and like Orlando or whatever the challenger was. Cleveland. Yeah, something like that. Jensen Brooksby, by the way, right? We should
Yeah.
mention that. Potchefstroom, Orlando, and Tallahassee was the one I forgot. So Green Clay as well.
Yeah.
And Cleveland, he was in the final. And so, that's surprisingly good, actually. I did not think I was going to get these American cities' names right. I mean, not that I don't remember the American names, but like just the fact that I always confuse who won what. Jensen Brooksby is not going to play until January 2025. That's just sick.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's 2 whole seasons he'll miss, of course, because he didn't play
yeah.
anything this year after the.
And he also didn't play a match in 2020. I mean, he was technically in college, Baylor, I think. So
Yeah.
it wouldn't really be like he would have had 50 professional matches. I mean, probably like 10, 15 at best. But he also didn't play college that year. So he's basically 3 years out of tennis competitively. Well, I guess in 2025, 2024, if he's healthy, he can probably play, whatever exhibitions or like I don't know, maybe UTRs even. It would be pretty sick to see him there though. But yeah, 3 years without playing like fully, competitive tennis. So that kind of sucks if you're what 25.
Yeah, he would be 25 by then, or almost 25, turning 25.
Yeah,
Yeah. And of course, he's not disputing the first and the third test. It's the second test that he wants to clarify kind of exactly what happened,
yeah,
like he did on his story. But obviously, he'll go to the CAS, right? So that's
yeah, and it's the same verdict as well that Mikael Immer got, right?
yeah,
18 months
18 months. Yeah.
for Immer. It meant retirement, although it's likely that
Yeah,
he'll be
but
back at
he
some
might
point.
come back. Yeah.
Yeah, Brooksby, I think, he sort of chose to get this violation earlier, right? So he
Mhm.
because he was injured, he decided to take it now to like start it in June. I don't
Yes.
think he was expecting it to be 18 months. I think he probably
Mm.
expected it to be like 6 or 12. But yeah, it kind of tells you that he wants to come back for sure, and like, yeah, why not? He does add something to the tour for sure. So even if you're
Yeah,
not a fan of his well, wacky playstyle, wacky technique, or like his attitude, I think he definitely adds a certain degree of unique factor to the tour.
I like his unorthodox style. It's intriguing to watch for sure. I've seen it live, and it's very, it's definitely very unorthodox and unconventional. But it's,
Yeah.
you need players like that to make good matchups, and he's shown he can make the best people in the world look very confused. A la Tsitsipas last two sets of their Indian Wells match last year.
One
Uh,
set against Djokovic.
One set against Djokovic, yes, and then you had Riley Opelka, saying,
Yeah, referencing that
yeah,
on in
yeah,
an indoor event of some kind. I can't remember if it was
yeah,
Antwerp or
one of those, yes,
yeah, I think
to
Antwerp.
the U.S. Open, yeah. Um, and then his 2022 was maybe some people expected, but he also did get to the third round of Wimbledon. He made a
Yeah, it
final. It
wasn't
wasn't
great, but it
horrible.
was
Yeah,
sort of
it was. Yeah,
following up 2021 with a solid season, easily keeping himself in the top 100. I think he was probably like 50th or something, right? So
yeah, yeah.
yeah, and then of course he started pretty well this year. Australian Open upset over Rude,
Yep.
and then the wrist surgery, I think,
Surgery on both wrists.
or both now. Okay.
Yeah, I think there was one more later on that the other hand. So
Yeah, and apparently it was an injury that was sort of with him for a while,
yeah,
and it just never required that sort of attention. But then it flared up, and
yeah. He did also make an appearance for Tennis Channel. He
oh
he
yeah,
did a couple of events for them, and not the most charismatic guy, but definitely knows his stuff.
um, we might be seeing some sort of a stronger clampdown, Matthew, because well, maybe not a stronger clampdown, but certainly they are trying to set an example a little bit. Because if Imer is getting 18 months, if Brooksby is getting 18 months, that's pretty huge. And I think they are trying to do something here. But in general, I think it's been for a while that you have these free strikes. Lots of players are on the third one, and they are trying to avoid it. So probably it's just really the sentences that have gotten, and then definitely the two most high-profile cases recently, right? Um,
Yeah,
I honestly don't know who else really had a verdict for that punishment earlier.
so that's and it was obviously backtracked the 18 months. So it will start in July of this year, as opposed to
Yeah,
earlier in the year.
yeah, and after he comes back, apparently there's gonna be like a huge show off between him and Ugo Umber, who is the better pianist. I
Don't
actually
forget
didn't know
don't
that.
forget Felix. Felix plays really good piano too.
Felix as well.
Yeah.
I
I
actually
feel like
didn't
I'm
know
having
that.
to. I feel like I'm having to defend Felix every 5 minutes.
Come again?
Oh no, I said I'm having to bring up Felix every 5 minutes.
Ah, having to bring up Felix. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I actually didn't know that Vincent Brooksby played piano, but yeah, sure. He'll have a lot of time for that. Yeah, it's definitely quite sad for him to miss out on like 2 years.
Yeah. As we were just talking about Jensen Brooksby, I was reminded also of Jared Donaldson because he had a very good
Yeah,
season in 2017, and he played the next gen finals, and I think, got to the quarters of one of the Masters in North America as well. Like he had some noticeably decent results, but then he had years of injuries, and then he eventually just
yeah, and he wanted to
college.
fight the umpire at Monte Carlo as well.
Oh yes, yes, yes. I do remember that. He got really like aggressive, like almost in his
Yeah,
face over
it
a
was like
call.
this French guy. I think I can't remember his name.
Yeah.
Like
Was it?
Gabas or
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Arnaud Gabas or something like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think.
Yes.
Yeah, Donaldson, I saw him recently because the event in Brisbane is coming back. So
Mm.
they have been starting like they started to post some things on their social media, and there was this Twitter video that they posted, which was from 2019, from the last edition, with
Oh,
players. I cannot remember what they were talking about, but basically, yeah, the first person there was Donaldson, and I think one of the guys in the video I was even struggling to recognize. I can't remember who it was now,
yeah.
but Donaldson, I think, started the video, which told me that okay, so this was done in 2019.
So apparently he goes to Berkeley now, and he's pursuing a
Yeah,
degree, and then he's also helping out with the tennis team. That's what I heard.
yeah. He like officially retired some time ago to just pursue his career in academia, I guess, and then get a degree and probably not play professionally anymore.
Yeah.
Given how many American talents and players are there in the top 100, it's not like a massively major loss, but of course,
No.
it's a huge shame for the guy that he wasn't able to continue his career, which clearly could have been very fruitful. Anyway, Ben Shelton so far also just keeping up with with Sinner quite easily. There was that one game at the beginning, right, of the match, the second game,
Yeah.
where Sinner had this forehand pass that I can't really blame him for missing. He didn't have all that much control over the shot, but since
Yes.
then it's been relatively one-way traffic for both guys, and looks like we might have another one of these tiebreak sets that we get while we're commentating.
Every time. Yeah.
Yeah. If you guys don't know what we're talking about, like the last four matches we've done with Vange, every single time we get a first set tiebreak. It was Shelton Giron, it was Tsitsipas team, it was Tsitsipas Fields, and
Yeah. And then there was also Runa Alcaraz, the one we did at Wimbledon.
Rune Alcaraz at Wimbledon. Yeah, since then we also did a women's match that didn't get to a tiebreak, but of course there it's much less frequent. So I think for men's we might be on a four-match streak. Unless we are missing something, but
No, I think you were right. Yeah, we are on a 4 match streak. This is our sixth match probably together, I think. I mean, also three of them have been Ben Shelton matches, so there is that. Three of them have been Ben Shelton matches. Two of them
maybe it's
have
just
been
Ben Shelton. Yeah,
two of them have been Tsitsipas, and
three
then
of them Shelton, by the way.
yes, three of them, right?
What's the third one?
Or maybe just one. Am I getting? No, no. I mean Shelton Giron, Shelton Paul, and then now
Oh,
Shelton.
Shelton
Yeah, yeah,
Paul as well.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I
yeah.
think we might be on a five
A
match
five,
streak
five,
then. Yeah.
five. Because yeah,
Wimbledon,
basically,
two in
basically every men's match we've done so far has been a
yeah,
first tiebreak.
Wimbledon, two in Beijing, and now Antwerp, and one in Vienna. So yeah, we basically are
Actually,
on a five
I
match
feel
streak.
like we did do one stream, but I think that was mostly you and Jack. It was maybe the second
Okay.
set of Swiatek Muchova.
Yeah,
And
but
it
then
was
again,
that doesn't
that's
really
again not a yeah.
it's not a men's match, but also
That's
I'm
not a
just I
men's
was I
match.
was I was thinking like we didn't do anything between Wimbledon and
How about
Beijing.
Oger
Oh,
Aliasim Vatanuki in Toronto? Who did I do that with?
not me. So
Was
that
it
was
was it by myself? I don't know.
maybe yeah.
Um, because I think that week I also did Mute against Brody, but I'm pretty sure I was alone for that one. But Oger Aliasim Vatanuki, I feel like I might have done that with someone else. Actually, oh no, I think it might have been Jakub. That would have been like 2 weeks before. Yeah,
Oh,
so I think that might have been Jakub. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Jakub actually, or Aliasim Vatanuki. But in my head, I was thinking that it might have been after he died, but no, it was actually before. So yeah, it was definitely Jakub for Ojales Vatanuki. So yeah, I think we are 100% on tiebreaks in the men's matches that we've watched together. Will it continue? Let's see. I mean, now it's Shelton putting some pressure with the rip and charge, as we called it
yes,
yesterday.
rip and charge off the backhand. I'm super
Sneak
pumped up.
attack by Ben.
Yeah.
Say BB.
Oh, yeah.
Brian Shelton likes that. I don't know how he played in his days, but maybe that was one of his tactics. Maybe that's something that he introduced to the Shelton game. Who knows?
Yeah, and so far, whenever he does it, I've rarely gone like, oh, that's the wrong play. He's usually timed it well. He's usually come up. with something good. I like the one where he also sneaks in the slice and comes in.
Yeah, I mean
He,
that's just chip
he
and
can do
charge,
both.
right?
Yeah.
Oh, unless in the
Yeah,
in the
yeah, but
rally, in the
in the
rally.
rally,
Okay,
in the rally,
yeah, in
not.
the rally he does that a lot. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
But here we go. Second, what does he do on this second serve?
Yeah, and he definitely is winning a lot of points.
Oh, he tried to do it again, but this time he missed it in the net.
Okay, yeah, requires very precise timing for sure, and
Yeah.
might be tough to get when the second serve is actually quite decent. Although
Yes.
just 120 kilometers an hour, it
By
was
the way,
pretty deep and had a decent kick, I guess.
there is decent statistical evidence now to suggest that this is the best Sinner has ever served in his career, and certainly the last ever since he switched back to the
Hmm.
platform, or I guess the pinpoint stance,
But
and
like
also the
I know, but serve stats are not only the serve, right?
yes,
So
and I
if you
guess
if you win more points in general, your serve stats are
yeah,
also gonna improve.
but
Uh,
things like serve quality or some stuff like that because
yeah.
I guess based on the data that Tennis Insights is putting together and Tennis Viz, like the tennis IQ that works very closely with the ATP.
Uh-huh.
They're
Yeah.
taking a lot of factors into account. Like they're taking placement into account, speed, spin, also who they're playing across the net, and then there's like a 52 average, and then there's tour average, and then there's your own stats.
Yeah.
So it's pretty good. Actually, I actually watched something recently that yesterday we were talking about how there's some good content creators. Gil Gross he invited a couple of these guys from Tennis Insights on his channel
Mm-hmm.
to explain those stats in more detail, like the backhand quality, forehand quality,
Okay.
serve quality, stuff like that, and also the ball tracking technology that they now use with the ATP. So that was kind of interesting. I watched like half of that video.
If Vansh has watched half of your tennis video, it's good.
Yeah, I mean, it was like an hour long. Like basically, there was a first
No,
section
no,
that
I
was
know. I'm
explaining all the
laughing.
metrics, and then the last section was just a general discussion on like what is the future of this in the sport. I didn't watch that part. I just watched the first half so far. I might go back and watch that later. I don't know. We'll see.
Mario Ancic, I don't actually know what he's doing after his career, but he also retired quite early, right?
He did, yeah. I mean, he was like around 30ish, maybe even before that. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We have some other players who retired to like get a finance job. I don't know.
yeah.
Mattia Pajic, he's still playing, but he has
I
a
know that
finance job.
Lindsay Davenport's husband is a really famous investment banker. Like he's
Okay.
one of the
And
best.
yeah, you're absolutely right, Matthew, about Ancic. He had mononucleosis in 2009. He started some residency in the law office, but then he actually kept playing. But after that, he became an investment banking associate at Credit Suisse, actually. And as of 2019, so quite, the data is old, but he was like associate at One Equity Partners in New York City, and he retired at the age of 27 even. So
Oh,
even earlier than that. Actually, I think he was yet to turn 27, so he was just 26 when he retired.
yeah. And of course, he has given Djokovic his only up until today, up until this year. He was the only
Hmm.
player that beat Djokovic in a five-setter at Wimbledon until Alcaraz did it this year.
Is Brian Shelton paid to wear the on gear? Might be part of the contract, right? That like players have to give their team as well, like the clothes to wear. I don't know. I mean, that not the players, but like the company, and then they also sport it. A lot of the time in doubles, you're also gonna see that like one of the players gives the other some gear, and they're playing in the same. I don't know. Probably depends on your sponsorship and contract.
Mhm.
Ben Shelton, you have a job to do here. You have to keep our tiebreak streak alive. So
Yes.
this sort of a forehand error is not what we want to see. I mean, I wouldn't mind a different set outcome than a tiebreak. It's just that if we already know about this streak, I kind of wanted to keep going for sure.
Yeah. Same
It's
here.
it, it it's a shame that in most cases it meant that the match was sort of straightforward, or at least two sets.
Yeah.
But we got that Shelton Giron
Yeah.
second set.
Yeah. Goes for another serve and volley play, and it's quite effective.
And Ruth has already defeated Bublik 7-6, 6-2.
Hmm.
So quite big for his touring chances as well. He actually was, I think, behind Hurkacz after Hurkacz beat Struve, but he's back up there at number 9 now. Is he? No, he's actually not. He's actually not. No, he needs one more win to get ahead of Hurkacz, but of course Hurkacz might also win. So we'll see tomorrow, but it seems like tomorrow Kasper Ruud will, if he wins his second round, then he will be back to 5 points ahead of Hurkacz, but that's not much. So it
Tomorrow
will
will
be
be
really
more.
tight.
Tomorrow
Huh?
will be more tricky for him than today, I believe.
Who is he
Against
playing? Remind me.
Stricker. Stricker.
Oh, Streaker. Huh. I mean, I don't know. I guess it's similar for me. Like both these guys can just easily beat Root on
Yeah.
this sort of a court. There's a lot of consistency issues, but
Yeah.
like there's no real problem that would stop them from doing that. Root is just not too strong of a favorite for me in Basel. Like in any match he plays, really against a big hitting guy like that.
Yeah. Plus lefty as well. So I have the same kind of qualms
Yeah.
about these matchups every time. Like it's similar to Tsitsipas in the leftiness and big hitter.
So yeah, there could be some very tricky matchups there for all the Basel crowd, because if you guys don't remember, Basel is the event where all of the players ranked between 8 and 11 in the ATP race are actually playing instead of Vienna. Vienna, you have the 3 to 7 crowd. So Rune Baez, it's mostly tricky because it's Rune, and we don't know if like his
Yeah.
excellence in the last two sets against, well, the last set and a half against Kecmanovic is going to hold up. But like Fritz against Shevchenko, Striker against Rud, this would be rough. And whoever Hurkacz plays in the quarters, really, the minor Greek sport, this might be a tough opponent for him as well.
What we do know is that he has a 100% win rate with Becker in his box,
True.
based on the amazing sample size of one match.
I think yesterday I saw a photo of Boris Becker in like a Vienna studio, and he said that he's happy to be in Vienna, and then he was in Basel. So apparently, he's just gonna be going back and forth between them. I don't know. But yeah, that's why I was maybe a little surprised when I saw him in Runa's box, because I thought he was gonna be in Vienna then, but no, he does make the trip, which is good, of course. And it's not that it's really not that close to each other. Switzerland, Austria, of course, they are neighbors, but with Vienna being like on the very east end of Austria and Basel being, well, more so towards the west of Switzerland, he probably had to take a plane there. Yeah, I mean, pretty sure he had to. John with
Oh,
his usual Tsitsipas slander.
I tell you what, though, Ben absolutely slandered that forehand. Oh yeah, yeah. I guess good players is debatable, but okay.
He did just beat Dominic Thiem, who's a big
Yeah,
hitter, sort of. He was a big hitter. Lefty, no. Good player, Was. I don't know what's your meaning of good. So yeah, maybe it's not a win that matters all that much for your criteria. But will a win against Thomas Mahach actually matter for your criteria? He's not a big hitter, really, in like the most traditional sense. He does hit very well on the rise, though, and he is not a lefty. Is he a good player? I do think so. So I think that would be a big win for Steph, but already called it yesterday. I have to stick by my guns. Mahach to beat Tsitsipas. And there's going to be one more breakpoint for Shelton. Brian Shelton is enjoying his time out there.
Oh, he's
Maybe
loving it.
he's also, yeah, he's also treating this match like Ben is,
Yeah,
like just let's have fun, let's see, and if I win,
yeah.
that's good.
Although Sinner is not messing around on these breakpoints. Another ace. Two of these three have been saved with aces and one really good second serve. But Ben is
Yeah.
doing a good job. Every time he has a second serve return, he's just leaning in closer and closer to the baseline, trying to do something different, just makes Sinner a little uncomfortable. Um,
And he has
so
been
far has been,
successful at that,
yeah,
definitely. Other than the one missed return, really, where it was on a
yeah,
break point, but you gotta try. I mean, that's sort
yeah,
of written into this tactic, into this part of his
yeah.
strategy.
Although this time, Sinner is up to the task and he comes up with a forehand pass cross court. I was just about to say Sinner answered the question.
Yeah. No question answering, no question responding here today.
Yeah,
We are switching up our vocabulary,
yes.
expanding our thesaurus. Could be a little bit of an issue for me, but we'll see.
Sinner does hold on, so
One more game from that tiebreak that we told you to expect. I said it yesterday. I said it that I should be betting on these tiebreaks in the matches that we do together. Apparently, I'm an idiot and I didn't do it.
yeah,
I'm assuming that a tiebreak in the whole match, it probably wouldn't be that much. That like the odds wouldn't be great, but
yeah.
a tiebreak in the first set, we're probably talking of like three odds or something like that. So I could have basically had three houses after today. Well, expanding my one house to three of them if I bet
Mhm.
my house on it. But well, Shelton still has to hold.
Any other interesting results in Brest?
Well, that Mute Per one yesterday, honestly, it was sort of boring.
Hmm.
I watched just like the last few games, and there were no underarm serves, no tweeners. It was kind of lame for a preliminary match. Today, I guess, one of the main stories has been that Arthur Ferry keeps winning every single
Yeah.
match imaginable, possibly. And yeah, I don't think he's coming back to Stanford now. He's clearly good enough. Probably one of the most exciting sort of college dropouts, if you may, in recent years. Of course, Shelton was at a bit of a different. You sort of knew that Shelton was already after that summer of 2022 that he was gonna stop. He was gonna forego his remaining eligibility, whereas
Yeah.
for Ferry it didn't really seem like it. So I'd maybe more so compare him to someone like Kovacevic, where for a few years we saw him in some pro events, and you knew that he was gonna be good, but then he comes out and delivers on the promise. Lestien Virtanen was just a sick round one, obviously. Like that's something that shouldn't really be happening in the Challenger round one indoors, especially. But that's the quality of the draw. And I also watched a fair bit of Brody Pirosh, but that was awful.
Oh, probably a match that Liam was a slight favorite in.
Come again?
That's probably a match where Liam was a slight favorite in.
Yeah, I think so. Pirosh is like barely fit, and he's also like not playing as well as he was in the spring. Definitely not. and Liam just made 100 comical errors later in the first set. It wasn't a good watch. No,
Was
Pirosh is. Mhm.
was Pirosh that guy who imitated Medvedev? That was him, right? Like there was this
Mm.
video going on earlier, going around social media like earlier in the year, where he was like imitating players, and he did a really good impression of Medvedev. Was that him?
I remember the video, but I can't remember who it was. Maybe
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Matthew was asking an interesting question about Polish dialects. Basically, west, south, not so much. Like there's this one main Polish, version, and everyone speaks it. However, there are some regional ones. Yes, there's like a whole different language in Kashuby, but yeah, other people will not be able to understand it. But there are some regional dialects of Polish, like in the south, you have just the sort of yeah, people who live in the mountains speak like that, because Poland basically works like in the north you have the sea, in the south you have the mountains. And yeah, in the south you're going to get a lot of that, perhaps some dialects as well in the north east, but generally speaking there's this one big most common version of Polish, and like almost everyone speaks it. Posh rural, I don't think for the most part you're going to be able to tell, although you can tell by just the way that you phrase things and like general sort of ability to speak the language, but I wouldn't call it dialects. No. You can sometimes tell that someone comes from a village. I know this is kind of not racist, but it's not great to say things like that, but that's how it works. You can
Mhm.
sometimes tell, but it wouldn't really be by the dialect, I guess. It would be mostly just some sort of errors, in the grammar and the way you Polish is just a very tough language. Like grammatically, there's seven how do you call that, cases with which you can there are basically seven different forms of nouns. So I think maybe like that, but Polska A and Polska B, what John is talking about, is basically the line of when in the 18th century, at the end of the 18th century and until 1918, we had basically three other countries occupying Poland: Austria, Prussia, and Russia. So Prussia, current Germany. And sort of the line between the Russian part and the German part still exists as like the sort of the German part, even after all these years, is it's much richer, more intelligent, more educated, whereas the Russian part is behind. And it still comes up because you have the political situation in Poland right now, and the Polska B, so the worse sort of part, votes for the governing party up until a week ago, whereas the more educated Polska A votes for the opposition, or just more so pro-European, less nationalistic tendencies. And John says that on Polska A, yeah, I mean, I've lived in Gdańsk the last 5 years, so probably, but my actual hometown is actually on literally like on the verge. We are one of the first um one of the first cities on the former German part. So my hometown is actually like on the verge. It's very close in the elections as well. So, but yeah, I have been living in cities in Polska, if you may, for like the past 11 years. So.
Mm,
And yeah, Sinner 5-1 on Shelton, right? What happened here as I was trying to explain the geographical and political tendencies in Poland?
not much. I mean, it's Ben trying to shorten the points, come forward, serve and volley a couple of times, but Sinner came up with the good passes, and maybe you could see a little bit slightly that Ben is trying to shorten a few of the points, get some more quick cheap ones, and kind of keep the momentum that way. But Sinner uh, did well, and I think hit 3 winners in the first 5 points. So he is going to serve for the set now, literally, with 2 points on his racket, 5-2. And speaking of the Polish elections, wasn't there someone from tennis Twitter who was in the running for one of the?
Ah, yeah.
Anna Sophia.
No, it's just hilarious that you mentioned her. I mean, yeah, absolutely. I know who you're talking about. I laughed. Like a couple of weeks ago, there was a meme that someone not from Poland did relating to her, and it was just so hilarious. Honestly, I cannot really say anything about her. She was in any. She was in a she lives in a very different region in Śląsk, which is sort of one of the ones where you get a dialect relating to that. And I know she was candidating, and like that's the whole thing. I actually didn't check if she got in, but I doubt it. She's like a big Iga Świątek fan, basically.
Yes, yes.
And even though she doesn't follow me, whenever I tweet something about Świątek, I can expect a comment from her for sure.
Yeah, same here. Like any ego post that I do, she's always in the
Yeah,
comments.
she speaks English very well, it seems, as well. So it's she's not as bad as people sometimes describe her. I think
No.
I don't think she's one of these
Yeah.
painful to be around Iga fans. I think sometimes I've had a decent discussion with her.
Mm. Yeah. And speaking of decent, that was a decent first set. And for the most
You know,
part, I know.
tiebreak as usual.
Yeah. And are we going to get something like a straightforward second set, or is it going to be perhaps a repeat of the girl match?
Yeah, apparently she got 704 votes, which was quite far away from getting in. She was ninth on her list, and I'm not sure how many got in, but she was in the left wing party, so probably like one or two. But yeah, she got some votes.
Yeah. Sinner's first serve percentage was very high in this set, by the way. 75% first serves in, 83% first serve points won, 60% second serve points won. 4 aces. He actually won more underturned serves than Shelton. So some good serving from Sinner.
Yeah, but Shelton is also going to try to return more aggressively, so like unreturned serves could be a little misleading, maybe.
Yeah, and then I guess he's 60% on second serve points won, but I guess two of those were double faults. 2 or 3 maybe. So in terms of
Yeah,
the actual rallies, yeah, I mean, you would expect in Shanghai, it was more like Shelton was really hanging in the baseline exchanges, and he was winning quite a lot of like the 5 through 8, 0 to 4 shots he was dominating in, and then Sinner was winning the fewer longer rallies they had.
John, if you want to find her, you should probably type in Anna Zofia, and it should work. Anna is ANNA, and Zofia is ZOFIA. And yeah, she also has her name in her handle. I think by that you should probably have her there. Anyway, enough of Polish politics. Although it's not the first time I've talked about this on the shows. For some reason, people are very interested, and I guess I can understand it. That's the fact that we still have this, the same situation sort of as 100 years ago, where two parts of the country are very different depending on who they belong to is quite something. I should write an essay or something about it. Although in Poland, no one would be interested in it because in
Yeah.
Poland everyone knows about this thing. So I guess it would have to be directed at foreigners.
As I was listening to you talk about the Polish history, there is some similarity in this with India in that sense, where I'm from, where it's like
Okay.
so many dialects and so many different languages as well. Obviously, the main language is Hindi, which is spoken by 80% of the population, and
Mm-hmm.
that's the language that I speak really well. That's like my first language.
Oh,
But in the south and the north, in the east and the west, it's a completely different way of doing things. We still have a lot of internal conflicts between the north and the south, and it's still very, very much divided.
so were you born in India and then moved to the
Yes.
United States?
Yeah,
When
I was
how
born
old
in
were you?
I was born in North India, so I was born in New Delhi,
Hmm.
which is the capital.
Yeah, yeah.
And I moved to here in California when I was 2.5. So I've been in
Okay,
California ever since.
very
But
early.
I usually go back to India every 2 or 3 years because most of my relatives and like extended family is from there and
Mm.
still lives there. Yeah, I get this question a lot about India being comparatively poor in tennis. I guess we have a lot of good doubles players, a lot of good
Yeah.
mixed doubles players, but the issue is in singles we don't have the funding, and the federation hasn't been very good about giving some extra funds early on in their development of these young athletes. And a lot of it has gone to cricket, which is the most popular sport by far. Cricket, badminton, squash, like other kind of racket sports. Some are more Olympic sports, but in general, we just don't really have great facilities that are, and the resources aren't always there in terms of growing the game in India at the grassroots level. Of course, Sania Mirza has been speaking out on that quite a lot, but so far it hasn't really developed in any kind of changes in the structure of how junior tennis is, how seriously junior tennis is being taken, I guess. Um, but we did have like Somdev Devarman, he got to 63
Yuki
in the world.
Bambri as well in the top 100
Yeah,
lately.
we had Sumit Nagal as well in the singles,
Yeah,
but
I mean he's still playing. Yuki
yeah.
Bambri as well, but just in doubles. But Nagal is still in the top 200, I think
And I
now.
think we have Ankita Raina in the
Yeah,
women's singles as well. She almost qualified for the U.S. Open, lost in the third round of qualies. Uh, so I mean, there's
Ramkumar Ramanathan was also in the almost in the top
yes,
100.
yes, yes.
But right now he's
He made an ATP final actually, lost to Steve Johnson.
Newport. Yeah,
But
that was one of the wildest ATP final runs probably. Although grass Newport,
yeah,
it comes with the
so yeah, yeah.
event.
Grass has been something that we've been pretty successful in Newport, especially. I mean, because we had like Prakash Amritraj also get to the final there in 2008. So we've had some of these sort of random runs. We've had a few breakthroughs in the top 100, but it's just not been very common on the men's and
Yeah,
women's side.
since Vijay Amritraj, there hasn't
Yeah,
been
yeah,
a.
we had Vijay Amritraj, we had his brother as well, Anand. Yeah, at one point it was ABC, which is Amritraj Board Corners. So that did exist at one point.
Vijay Amritraj played in a Bond movie.
He did, yeah. The Amritrajas are big actors, I'll tell you that. They're very much into having cameo.
There are some tennis jokes and like references in it. I remember. I can't remember the exact jokes,
Yeah.
but certainly tennis is mentioned a lot of times in that in Octopussy. Yeah, it's definitely something to think about. That there are so many good doubles players from India. Basically, everyone has like a similar type of game where they have great touch on the volleys and a
Yeah.
good serve, but not that much else in the game in terms of the baseline. And yeah,
Yeah,
you've
they
got
very much grew
Sharad,
up.
Bopana.
They very
Uh,
much grew up watching Wimbledon. Like I can tell you
yeah,
that. But it's like they basically only had access to
serve and
Wimbledon
volley tennis.
and maybe the final of the U.S. Open, and not much else was televised
Okay.
throughout the whole year. especially early, especially like in the 80s and 90s. But they're like very much into lawn tennis. I guess the few courts that we do have are like grass, actually, in places in India. So it makes
Yeah,
sense.
there's a fair few outdoor hardcore events, right? I mean, now we have lots of ITFs recently, actually, but even on the Challenger Tour in February this year, there was a 3 week streak of Indian. And actually, oh no, I forgot about that. I earlier said that looks like no one is gonna win 3 challengers in a row, but Max Purcell did it in India, of course.
Mm.
So what am I talking about? That yeah, Bangalore, Chennai, and Pune, I think was the third one. Probably
Okay.
doesn't seem like things will change as well as there are no like youngsters coming up right from India.
No, I probably would have heard about them if they did. Um,
Sumit Nagal, 26 years old already.
yeah.
Prajnesh Gunneswaran, not
Yeah, Prashant.
almost at the end of his career. Even Ankita Raina, whom Vansh mentioned, is like what, almost 30 probably.
Yeah. You know, we don't have a lot of young players incentivized to choose tennis right now. Growing up,
She's actually already 30, yeah.
a lot of our best athletes are going into either badminton or cricket
Yeah.
because that's where the money's at.
But that's something that tennis might be trying to change at some point as well, like the tennis as a whole, because obviously India is a massive market and the biggest country in the world by population. So
Yes, it has just surpassed China a few months
yeah,
ago in world population.
we have about seven. Well, do we have 8 million people on the planet already, or not? Eight, sorry, 8 billion, or
Very
not?
close to 8 billion. I don't know if
Yeah.
it's 8 billion yet,
So
but it's,
basically, we have almost 8 billion, and then two and a half of that is China and India. So
yeah,
no wonder that we are trying to hit these markets hard. Although we are actually trying to hit the Chinese market hard, and the Indian one not so much yet. But that's probably
mm,
because of like money,
yeah, money.
GDP being just not as interesting for the tennis wars so far. But I think at some point it must be that
Let's say
that India will become.
in terms of the popularity of watching the sport, the interest is definitely still there in India. Like it's not
Yes, you
like
can see it on social media as well.
there's a lot of hardcore fans, tennis fans from
Yes,
India, but I mean, not nearly as much as cricket. And I would still say soccer is the second most popular sport. But after football and after cricket, like tennis has to be third. I would say for sure.
because they sort of have to rely on the challenger level for the singles players. I see it a lot. Like I don't know, I will tweet about Sumit Nagal. It gets a lot more likes than some other tweets. There's a number of Indian people who I know will comment and say something.
Yeah,
There's a couple of Indian guys who like frequently ask me what I think about Nagal's next match, for example. And this doesn't
yeah.
really happen for like players, let's say barely in the top 200 that often. Like that, the
And
interest is definitely
we do also
huge
have
on Twitter.
interest in terms of covering tennis. In terms of covering tennis and the broader sports commentary, there's a lot of interest there. I mean, on Twitter also, there's a couple of people I know who are like really into sports commentary for tennis,
Mhm.
and a couple of journalists as well, like this Prajwal Hegre of the Indian Times. She covers
Mhm.
tennis, and then there's also Vatsal
Yeah,
Totasanya. Vatsal
I,
Totasanya.
I know
I'm
him.
guessing
Yeah,
that's the guy who
Indian
messages me
Tennis Daily, right?
about
No,
yes,
no, no.
Indian.
He's actually not the guy who messages me. It's
Oh,
like a
okay. Who's the other guy?
random
Yeah,
account.
yeah.
No, it's a
Okay.
random account. But yeah, Vatsal, I know very well. I've sent him photos and videos of Indian players in the past when I was live at events, and
Yes.
I've sent him some photos of Raina or Nagal, so I know him very well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So he's a guy that I try to follow because he does the Indian Tennis Daily, and then
Hmm.
there's
Yeah,
also
he's great.
Musab Abid. Musab Abid.
I
He's
think
not
I
very
know who
active
it is, but
on Twitter,
maybe.
but he definitely tries to cover the Indian players.
So it's an interesting dichotomy that you have a lot of people interested in tennis, you have a lot of journalists covering tennis, but then you don't really have the singles players at
Yeah.
all. and
Actually, I think also
junior
one of the
support.
people who covers tennis and who commentates, I think his name is Sarthak. Sarthak, yes. I think John has actually had him on Talking Tennis. I want to say around
Hmm.
August of last year, John had him on. John will probably know who I'm
Interesting.
talking about. His name is Sarthak. Sarthak Tennis Tweets or something on Twitter.
Which country you think is strongest in tennis outside of the US? My guess is Russia. Yes,
Uh,
Spain right now will not actually be as good, I think.
Spain at the
Talking
moment
tennis.
now is
Yeah.
lacking some of the young guard.
After Alcaraz, they're going to have struggle for depth, it seems.
Yeah, especially because
Whereas,
PCB and
mhm,
RBA are pretty close to the
yeah,
end. I mean, especially RBA, but
yeah,
PCB maybe still has a couple more really good years. But
maybe. I mean, he's injured again, apparently.
yeah,
But yeah, after Alcaraz, well, in the Alcaraz era, sort of, it looks like Spain might not have all that much depth. Whereas, yeah, Czech Republic definitely a good answer for the women's. I think Italy is certainly up there. You've got Sinner, Musetti, Berrettini, Sonego basically at the top of the game. It's such a large support group in challengers. Arnaldi basically gonna join these first four that I mentioned in a second. Maybe if, especially if he beats Rublev tomorrow. So yeah, I would say that France as well, men's definitely. In women's, probably a little less. In men's, it's huge, and that's why it's such a big story that like France hasn't had a Grand Slam winner in forever, because they have a billion of players in the top 200. I think actually right now they have like 25 players in the top 200 or something like that, or 24 on the men's side, and they've actually won also 26 challengers this year already, and I think 18 different players account for that. So France has like a huge foundation, huge group of players at the top of the sport. They just haven't had like the one huge star, but I mean all of the four musketeers made the top 10, right? So Russia is very strong as well, obviously. Russia
yeah.
has a wonder tennis tradition.
And breakpoint for Sinner. Uh, that time Sinner really stepping in on the cross court backhand and forcing an error off of Ben. I mean, I guess it was kind of forced. He was trying to go down the line and redirect it, but it was just coming at him with too much pace.
Yeah, I would count it as forced as well.
Yeah,
These sort of neutral rallies most of the time are going to go Sinner's way, but of course Ben has improved a ton at like resetting and just his backhand holding up so much better.
yeah. And he saves this with a 233 kilometer per hour serve down the tee. I wonder how much that is in miles per hour. At least
Mm,
140.
yes, I think it's over 140. It's barely over 140, I think, though. I'm gonna check that. Yeah, oh,
144.
actually, not that barely. Yeah, 145, even if you round up.
Yeah, if
So,
you round it up.
yeah.
And another 227 bomb. So, yes, if you couldn't already tell, Ben Shelton has a very lively arm.
Yeah, the us. Oh Jesus! I mean, the word "us" is appearing a lot in his matches here in Vienna so far. Of course, it's just one match, but it's just funny that they have the one "us."
I will be back shortly. I just need to get my laptop charger.
Sure thing. Checking what we were just talking about the French players in the top 20, in the top 200. So yeah, maybe I will not look at the live ranking, but I will look at the official one. And I think in the top 200, there's like 24 or 25 French players. So that is sick. At the same time, you're still going to find French fans who are like very desperate, for a Grand Slam winner. Um, and, I can understand it. But I think a larger foundation is much more important than that. Yeah, so basically there are 24 Frenchmen in the top 200 in the official rankings of this week on the men's side. But there's Kylian Jacquet at 201 and Calvin Emery at 209 as well. So it is possible that there's going to be like 26 or 27 really soon. 30, 34 in the top 300. Yeah, that's really huge. And of course, with Fils and Van Asch now, they sort of have what things to look forward to in the future as well. Probably Gabriel De Bruyne, another Grand Slam champ in the juniors. Giovanni Pecci Pericard, we'll see. I have my doubts, but we'll see. Artur Cazot as well. I think potentially in the future he should easily break the top 100 once he has like a stronger patch somewhere. Um, it would be good for him if he beat Nakashima today, but I wonder how that match is going to go. When Vansh is back, I'm going to ask him how he sees that matchup. Vansh, I think, is a bit of a, well, I don't know if a Nakashima fan, but definitely has is interested in his career, given that they sort of, were juniors at a similar time in a similar place. Oh yeah, Vansh, I was just about to ask you, how do you see the Nakashima Kazo match in Brest?
Oh,
Because I was still talking about all these Frenchmen
yeah.
in the top 200.
Isn't Kazal playing some decent tennis these days? He's
I mean,
is he been a little unpredictable, or is he?
he did have a very strong patch earlier this year. Actually, he was super consistent until like a month ago, and then he has been sort of disappointing for me the last month or so. Um,
I do think Brendan is the favorite, and will probably come through if he plays anything like how he has been playing. I mean, for the most part, he's not been horrible. Like, I mean, his ranking has slipped, and for sure he's not in a great place in terms of winning multiple matches. But if I look at his losses so far, really the only one that stands out is the loss to Uchiyama in Tokyo qualifying. I think that was really just not a good loss for him in three sets. But he actually played very well in Shanghai. You know, he beat Zapata Morales, and then he beat Runa. Although that was a very horrible version of Runa, but still.
Losing to Jera in 3 sets at the US Open, that was quite awful as well. Like
Yeah,
just
I was quite
I
disappointed with that.
not the result itself, but like the fact that the match was never really close. Because
Yeah.
I think after Winston Salem, everyone, including me, was like, okay, so Nakashima is actually playing well now. He's probably gonna have a decent run at the US Open. He's probably gonna stay in the top 100. Like it's just a matter of time before he starts getting the results. And
Mhm.
soon enough, it actually wasn't a matter of time.
Yeah, and then he was very close to beating the Hechka, for example, in Canada. That's a match that could have gone his way. Maybe it
Yeah,
should have. He was, he lost in the
yeah,
third set tiebreak there. He did well
yeah.
to push Stan to three sets in Cincinnati, but he had all the momentum coming out in the third set. There was a couple of rain delays, and he did not get off to a good start. He made a few forehand errors in the start of the third set, and then Stan quickly went up 3-love, and then that was the match basically.
Basically, the whole North American hardcourt season, it felt like he's playing well, but not getting the results. And then the Jer
Yes,
loss came, and of
it's just
course
converting. He's losing a lot of tight matches, I would say, this year. Whereas
yeah.
last year he was winning more of these than losing. So
And the main
it's
tragedy was of course losing to Safiullin, not in the sense that he lost to Safiullin, who's in great form, but just that was what got him out of the top 100 as he was defending the
yeah,
San Diego title.
yes, and then I would say also the loss at Wimbledon, because yes, Jordan Thompson is a very good player and he's allowed to lose to him on grass,
On grass, yeah,
but
Jordan Thompson
he
is.
had some serious chances to win the fourth. He was up 2 sets. The first two, 2-2. He had the chances were there for him to play Djokovic in the second round,
So
and
did Nakashima even win a match at the Slams this year? Not, right? I don't think he did.
no,
No.
no, because he drew Shapovalov also first round of Roland Garros, lost that in five, lost in five to McDonald, lost in five to.
Shapovalov is not that bad a draw, on clay.
Yeah, but I will say, he was playing really well in
Yeah, he did have his strongest event of the year. Yeah.
in Roland Garros, and Wimbledon actually were his strongest events. Uh,
Australia probably could have beaten Maki, and
yeah, that was the
then
match where he actually got injured. That's
yeah,
where it fell apart for him because he lost the first 2 sets. Uh,
kinda has a chance of beating
Thanks.
Nadal then, just because Nadal was
Yes,
not
yes, he could have been the
with
guy
his
to do
usual.
that. Yeah,
Yeah,
but yeah,
from McDonald, it basically was just one set of peaking, and then Nadal falls apart. So I
yeah.
don't know how Nadal reacts, how
I
his
mean,
body reacts if there's no one set of peaking from Nakashima, but he probably would have won anyway in like 4 or 5.
I
given
think so.
how Rafa looked.
I think so. Yeah. So I think it was disappointing for him not to at least do something a little bit more. I mean, he did get to the semis of Lyon, beat Tommy Paul
Yeah.
all the way there. He beat Schwartzman, who was, yeah. I mean, take that as you will. And then of course he beat Feast. He beat Feast and Winston Salem,
Yeah.
which, and then Kubler, of course. But then
There's two major things that
Jesse
have changed for
just
Nakashima. When he was coming up, we were all like, okay, so like a faster hard court, grass court, that's where he's gonna be the strongest.
yeah.
Now he's actually really good on clay.
Yes,
Has
he
his
is. Yes.
best run of the year on
I think
clay.
it actually helps his forehand because he needs a little bit more time to set up his feet and get that. He has kind of a longer stroke production on the forehand, and maybe it's just better for him on the forehand side. Because I remember in Lyon, he was hitting the forehand much bigger and better. Overall, the quality was more. He was just not as rushed on that wing. But what's funny is he actually hits his forehand better in the corners than he does from the middle of the court. You give him a ball, middle of the court, central, kind of, but deep and not much pace to work with, you're usually going to get errors off that
Coco
wing.
Goff.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's not that dissimilar to that in
Yeah,
terms of
but
it's got the long stroke production. It's not,
yeah,
and then there's a lot of times where he will choose to run around his backhand and hit
yeah.
forehands, and I'm just like, just hit your backhand. Your backhand is so good,
From what I remember, he was still over 50% on backhands hit though. So like he was still, it's
Like,
rare on the tour
and then
to
the
have
other
it.
thing is, I
So
can never understand why he's not breaking serve more often, because he's actually in a lot of matches he was serve botting a lot of the times, and he was holding very comfortably. And I think last year he was the eighth or ninth on tour, and service games won something like that. And he was like
really,
really high. He was really high on the list.
wow,
Like,
that's
and
surprising.
his
Yeah.
and general serve stats were excellent. Like he was winning he was winning a really high percentage of first serve point. Like he was in the top 10, 15 in leaderboards in serve. Whole percentage. I think it was whole percentage that he was in the top
Yeah,
10.
Shelton. By the way, Shelton was just had another serve and volley attempt, and the half volley was really rough.
Oof.
Sinner just tracks it down, and there's going to be a breakpoint that could potentially end the match, and would be very much a similar outcome to what most of our matches,
Yes.
well, most of the matches that we commentate have.
Yeah.
The other sort of thing that changed about Nakashima I wanted to bring up, but actually return is a good one too. But
Yeah.
the other one I wanted to bring up was that like a couple of years ago he was perceived as an extremely clutch player. Like that was one of his biggest
Yes. Yes. No,
assets,
and he
and
was
now he's one of
hard.
the worst
He
clutch.
was very clutch. I think that's the big difference. He was very clutch
Yeah,
in 2022. Um,
2021 as well.
and 21, yeah. The two finals that he made. I mean, how clutch was he against Thompson in the one match where he saved like 3 match points?
Like that was one of his
And
biggest
just,
assets, because like he doesn't have a game to be like consistently, I don't know, top
yeah.
20 in the world or something, maybe even not top 50 in the world, but with that clutch factor he actually could have easily been in the top 50 for a long while.
Mm. Yeah, I don't know why that's
Shelton
faded a little
just
bit.
applied, by the way, the same of the same of that same strategy that he's been using. Just keeps going forward, keeps, and actually does win the point here.
Yeah.
And the next one as well. On the break point, he had a pretty tough volley from below the net, but the touch on the first volley was great.
Oh my goodness! Did you see the touch on that volley?
Not yet, but I will see it in a
Oh
moment. So yeah, one more serve volley. Okay, so this is a very similar half volley actually. Oh, so the point continues. Oh, but this is a very similar half volley to the one on the previous point actually, like on the one that made him go breakpoint down. But
yeah.
it was, well, one thing better executed, but also Sinner was like so far out of the court
Oh
after
my
that
goodness.
lefty serve, out wide on the outside. So 4-3 Shelton, still holding on. Yeah,
But I think it's not the end of the world for Brandon. Like if he can get some, he barely has nothing to defend first half of next year
yeah.
until Leon. He was injured in February, and honestly, he felt injured to me longer than February. He's just playing through it a lot of the times. Actually, played a very good match against Medvedev in Indian Wells, but got no reward for it whatsoever. His reward was 7 games. Uh, but yeah, I mean, if he, for example, if he can win Brest, or he can win the next couple of events that he's in afterwards, why not sneak back into the top 100 by the end of? I mean, being top 100 by the end of the year is going to be really tough.
Yeah, Brest, even the title in Brest looks really hard because he's in that top half, which is like so much more stacked at the moment.
Yeah,
Plays Gaston potentially in the quarters if he beats Cazot today, and then in the semis it's like Bonzi or Ferry probably. So yeah, it's really tough to get even to the finals. Especially when you look at the third quarter, where currently you have Albot, Martinez, and Pirosh.
oh,
Like someone is gonna scam their way to a semi there, and I think it will be Jean-Pierre Pirosh, who really is playing like 10 times worse than in the spring. But maybe he will get to the top 100 until the end of the year. He probably has a better chance than Brandon Nakashima at this point, although Brandon is stronger. It's just a matter of ranking situation.
yeah.
Yeah, we've had our Brandon Nakashima segment. We've had our Polish demographics segment. What's gonna come next? When it comes to Vienna, of course, we are basically done with any other matches, but the doubles. We've just got Mektic Pierce, Arevalo Roger, and only Zverev Nori to come after Shelton Sinner. Whereas in Basel, you have Ridi playing Oželje Sim now. That was part of the upset package that I foresaw yesterday. We'll see if it actually pans out.
I
It
can't
would be
believe
huge if Echeverry beats Murray, right? That would
it
be
would
so
be it would be huge.
massive for
Yes,
him.
of course, Murray did beat him in conditions earlier this year that you thought would have favored Thomas in
Mm,
Indian Wells.
Indian Wells. At the time, I don't know if we perceived Echeverry as a good enough hardcourt player, even Indian Wells.
That is true. Yeah,
But
he
yeah,
reminds me.
it was a match where I felt
Much.
like Echeverry should have a shot. He sort of did.
I think I might have mentioned this to you already, but he reminds me so much of Leonardo Meyer in certain aspects of his game. Maybe it's
I
the
think we
forehand
talked about
centricness
it.
of it. Maybe it's the way that he serves and the
Um,
technique on serve.
what he wears on his head even.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe it's
And
just
yeah,
how he
the
looks. Maybe
forehand
it's just
technique is similar. The forehand technique there, the way they set up especially, I think is
yeah.
fairly similar.
I think
I don't
Meyer
know if
had.
Leo Meyer was as forehand centric though.
Yeah, I mean, he that was certainly his best shot. I mean, obviously he had the one hander, but
It
he
was his
liked to
best
run
shot,
around.
but I don't know if the difference was that huge as with
Yeah,
Echeverry, where yeah, it's clearly massive.
yeah.
I think that's out from Shelton, so 40-15. Um, yeah, I would really love to see Rune Mare at this point, but I don't know
Yes.
if that's gonna happen. Have they played? Probably not, right? Like I'm trying to think of a
Runa
matchup.
and Murray?
Yeah.
No, there's not. That would be very interesting if they did. Yes, I can't wait. I hope that
Well,
happens.
apparently they played this year, but that was the exhibition in Hurling Cup, so it doesn't really count. And by the way, John, you have to learn how to spell the names of friends of the show. Aziz Dugas ends with a Z, not an S. But yeah, Aziz Dugas, friend of the show, and he actually knows he's a friend of the show. I still don't believe that Liam Brody doesn't know he's a friend of the show. I think Liam Brody knows he's a friend of the show, but otherwise it's probably just Aziz Dugas. So
Another break point, another ace for Jannik Sinner.
huh. This one was barely in, but it was.
I've noticed Sinner gets himself in so many holes on serve a lot of the times, and then he just comes up with aces to save them. It's like,
Yeah, digs out of them very well, so doesn't
yeah.
really matter. Got a good shovel.
I mean, this is what really troubles Alcaraz because he literally saves every single break point with these
Yeah,
serves.
Sinner has been saving every breakpoint since Wimbledon, and Alcaraz has been wasting every breakpoint since
Yeah,
Wimbledon.
I'm not even kidding. That's how it's been. And if you look at their matches, I mean, literally, I don't know what Alcaraz has to do to do that differently. He just has to convert more break points because it's like a huge difference in break points converted. It's like Alcaraz will go like 2 for 15, and Sinner will be like 3 for 4. You know.
Um, I think it was 2 days ago. I think it was the final round of qualifying in Ortisei, where there was a match between Patrick Riekl and Hinek Barton, and Barton had one breakpoint. Last game of the match, he converted it, and
Yeah.
Riekl was on 2 out of 13.
Oh my goodness. Yes.
Yeah, until the very last game, it was 5-6 in the third. Nothing he could do on return, and then he actually breaks on the third time, on the first time of asking. And I think it was also like a ridiculous shot that got him there.
Yeah.
So yeah, we don't have any trends when it comes to the matches we are commentating regarding the second set outcome. This can be literally anything. So the guys are now we finally see them actually playing for something. Before that, you knew that it had to end in a tiebreak.
Hmm. We've had 7-6, 6-4 as far as second sets go. We've had 7-6, 6-3. We've had 7-6, 6-7, 4-6. And we've had 7-6, 6-4 again. And we've had 7-6, 7-6. So what's this one going to be?
Well, we are at 4-all, so the tiebreak looks pretty likely. How many breakpoints did Shelton have so far? Was it the two and was it these two that Sinner saved with aces, or was there something more?
I think three, right?
Oh, there was more when he tried to approach, right?
Yeah, there was the 4-all, 15-40, and one of them was an ace, one of them was a second serve where he tried to
Yeah,
win that.
second serve he was trying to approach. Yeah,
Yeah. So I think 3 or 4 for the match. It's either 3 or 4. I don't know which one. Let's see. Yeah, 4. They both had 4 chances, and Sinners converted one.
92% on first serves won Shelton though. But
Wait,
yeah,
no,
that's more or
they
less.
both had 4 chances, and they've not converted either, right? Because yeah, I mean no breaks so far.
Yeah.
That's why flash score is off. Flash score says that Sinner is
Sinner converted the breakpoint. Yeah, I know.
yeah, it says 1 for 4, even though it should be 0 for 4. But
It happens.
yeah, yes, I know not to look at the unforced error winner stat for flash score.
No. Yeah.
They're way off. Although in the majors they're not. In the majors
Yeah,
they're spot on
they take it from the
because they
website
take it
probably.
from yeah,
Yeah, that or the same provider literally.
like Infosys or whatever it is, depending on the major. IBM for Wimbledon.
Yeah. So I think they just take it from the provider, but here they are like wrong enough to a point where you can actually see just right away that they're wrong, because
Yeah.
they're gonna be like, I don't know, 10-2 for the entire match or something
Yes.
like that.
And then there's clearly obviously a psychological or philosophical difference between how they score things for Infosys versus Tennis TV as well.
Yeah.
But I would trust the Tennis TV stats for winners and four stars because I know the people who log them. They're all pretty good. Again, Sinner's depth plastering Ben the baseline, and he's got this back to deuce. There's something very satisfying about listening to Sinner strike a tennis ball. It's like listening to a carrot snap in half. It's like
Which
this
is why
thunderous strike, strike, strike. It's like, yeah, it's like you've just hit something really hard with like a knife, but it's just so pure and so clean. I don't know how to explain it. It's very satisfying.
I've actually been watching on mute, so the only thing I hear is you. I think I can actually hear some of your sounds though. Like right now, I've heard an out call, I think, but
Oh,
like
okay.
it's
Should probably
very like
slow it down.
only when you're not saying anything and only when I'm not saying anything, which doesn't really happen. A lot of kids in the crowd, by the way, like using the Shelton celebration, or
Oh yeah.
that's so funny. I'm actually gonna try to rewind to that and grab a screenshot of that.
It looks like Djokovic has helped the popularity of the celebration even more.
Yeah,
He
everyone
has.
has actually. But Djokovic for the most part, yes. The fact that he copied it right after.
Maybe that will be added to his legacy, his CV, somewhere in the very bottom.
Yeah, everyone is using it now, and like it's the whole phone celebration generation or whatever.
Bigger than winning Olympic gold.
Well, maybe he will still win the Olympic gold.
Yeah.
He will surely be targeting it next year.
Yep. He's gonna have to go from Roland Garros to grass to back to Paris. I wonder if he'll try and win Monte Carlo once, so he can complete the triple career masters or whatever. What is this? Beer time? Oh, I guess John is out for a drink.
It's always a good time to crack a beer. That's what they say.
I just never like beer though. It's just I don't know. It's just the taste maybe. I just never acquired it.
I don't like it either. I like all the sort of beer with well, if you go to a bar, you can add juice to it or something like that. But there are also all these like Somersby type of stuff. Like I do like that. Basically, the less it tastes like beer, the better it is.
I'm very old fashioned when it comes to my alcohol, so I would have rum and coke, please, or have rum and coke or red wine.
Oh, Jesus. No, you wouldn't do well in Poland. You wouldn't hold up.
I wouldn't. They don't have red wine.
Red wine probably yes, but like everyone would look at you as like, what are you doing? Why are you drinking wine?
I like the grape flavor.
Yeah, I actually don't like any sort of well, with wine I guess it's the same for me like beer. So like the less it tastes like wine, the more I accept it. So it's a hard life when you're like that, but thankfully I like vodka. Tequila and pasta and bone, yeah, more or less. Have either of you had that expensive US Open drink?
Oh, you're
Vanch,
talking
have
about
you? I haven't
you're talking
been.
about you're talking about honey deuces. No, I've never been to the U.S.
Yeah.
Open.
Okay, so he also hasn't been. John, have you had honeydews? I guess you're the only one here who was there. He seems like he's had. I mean, it's an alcoholic beverage that's popular. John definitely had it.
I would be surprised if John didn't have honeydews for sure.
Yeah, me too.
He definitely did.
Yeah, when I saw the pricing, like someone posting a screenshot from the US Open, that's just ridiculous, you know. Um, it's so different to the prices we have here, and if I went there, I would be like, no, I can't buy that because that's just wild. I'm not gonna spend I don't know 80 PLN on a drink. No, that's just absurd. Um, but it also has its merits, you know, because a large part of the income that I get is in dollars, and well, in dollars it might not be much. In PLN, that's actually quite good. So
Yeah.
sometimes I'm happy about living in a country which has slightly, well, it's not poor, but it's just not as rich as the US or whatever.
Hmm. Is
He really
the
lost the first set.
is the tennis riding helping out with the um, is the tennis riding helping you there when it comes to the like I guess making money?
Yeah, more or less. I mean, I'm like on the verge of making ends meet at the moment.
Mm.
Depends on the month, really. As it, in tennis, that's how it works, right? In December, I'm barely gonna earn anything, whereas
Oh,
October is gonna be really good. So,
do you write that in Polish when you write the articles?
I write for one
Polish.
Polish thing. It's not a large part of my income, no.
Oh,
It's it pays okay actually, but there's a limited sort of number of things that I can do there. I do like YouTube streams as well for that page, and some daily sort of previews, and that's mostly it. But it pays well, but there's a limited amount that I can do. But yeah, that's the only thing I do in Polish, really. Well, of course, I also talk to people in Polish. I meant tennis wise.
like okay.
Yeah, Matthew, you're right. I wonder if I was at the US Open, would I actually pay $20 for that as well? Just to, sort of not miss out on it. Maybe. I don't know. I hope I wouldn't, but now that you sort of put it like that, you're right that it's a.
I remember being 17 and going to Wimbledon for the first time and being very disappointed in the strawberries and cream. It was just not what I thought it was. Oh, there you go. What's cool about this cup is that it has the winners of all the. Yeah, it has all the winners of the U.S. Open. I guess you can keep the cup.
Ooh, Grey Goose at the bottom? Yeah. Oh, and
That
Sinner, by the
forehand,
way.
that forehand
Yeah.
goes wild, so it's break point for Sinner. Break point number 5. This time he gets the first serve back. They're in a rally, but
But it's not
Sinner
gonna be
misses that last
taken.
backhand.
Yeah.
Good
Lots
depth
of
in
depth
that.
on the Shelton forehand, yeah.
Yeah.
That was basically how he got that. And
Hmm?
now they're at 4 out of 4, both
Okay.
of them.
Yep. Thank you again, Fire Score, for being wrong.
Yeah,
Yeah, makes
that's a
sense.
wild point again. And Sinner will win that sort of cat and
Yes, of
mouse
course he
rally.
will. And he hits that backhand cross court angle. Like that's the same type of angle he hit against.
That's the Shrihari
Yeah,
shot,
that's the
right?
Shihari shot. Yes, yes.
We were talking about it yesterday, and yeah, that's
Yeah,
basically the one that
no, Sinner,
Shrihari
Sinner,
posted.
Sinner is very good at this one, where he can
Yeah,
just sort of just turns his left wrist, and it's a very compact stroke, and it's just yeah, that's the shot that he hits so well.
come
Basically
on.
off of a slice, and it stays so low, but somehow he's able to get
Is that
it.
serve really out from Shelton? I guess it is.
It
So
is, yeah, second serve.
this is a big opportunity now. Ooh, and he cleans it up in like the best way
Wow.
possible. Yeah. What a sort of counter direction there with the forehand. Beautiful stuff. Down the line. So Sinner will serve for the match.
Mhm.
And yeah, he's been very clutch. Shelton has been clutch as well, maybe a little
Yeah.
less. And honestly, that's it. Like
Yeah.
literally this match has been, like that.
Yep.
Shelton may be paying for his more aggressive strategies in the tiebreak a little bit because a couple of times it just didn't work out, and then He fell like a significant amount of points in the tiebreaker and couldn't recover. But I mean, this is literally a 50-50 type of match.
Yeah.
If we thought that Shelton might be a little wary or something coming off that Tokyo run, no, it's not really a thing here. It's been just as tight really as their Shanghai clash.
Yes.
It's probably gonna be a different winner though, although we will have to see about that. Maybe Ben Shelton still has a few aces up his sleeve. Will Shelton? Will Sinner bring out the phone celebration after he beats Ben Shelton?
Oh my goodness! If he did that, can you imagine?
That would be a little aggressive, but that also sounds like something unlike Jannik.
Yannick
Um,
would not do that. No. He
yeah,
would be soft.
that sounds like something that's just way too exciting,
Uh,
because usually Sinner.
but that does remind me of 2021 in the semis against Tiafo, where
Semis of what?
Vienna,
Vienna. Oh Jesus, I do not remember that.
where Sinner was up, I think 6-3, 4-1, 6-3, 5-2, something like
That's the year that when Tiafoe made the
that. Yeah,
final,
yeah.
right?
When
Because Sinner
Tiafo made the final, and
hasn't been in
he
the
was
Vienna final.
basically celebrating like crazy after every point that he won. He got the crowd involved.
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, and basically it got in Sinner's head, and then he was able to win the role in the third set. And basically like Sinner wasn't too complimentary of Tiafoe's behavior. He didn't quite like it. Um, at the same time, like he learned from it, and the next time that he played a tournament, or the next time when he played in Italy for the Davis Cup, he was getting the crowd going. He was being super energetic and just like very charismatic. And at first, it looked kind of like, oh, he actually it looked kind of manufactured at first, but then he actually brought it into his game more and more in 2022. And I guess now it's just he's kind of found a good balance where he kind of mostly just lets his tennis do the talking, and then occasionally he'll be very expressive, particularly in matches against Alcaraz. And now he's got triple match point.
Yep. Shelton is gonna stay alive.
Yeah,
We talked about it on one of the matches of his that we did. That right now, forehand down the line, he has so much precision on, and this was a good example of when he just takes away the power and just puts
yeah,
it exactly where he wanted it. But of course, that might not be enough. Sinner still has too much points. They're gonna play rally though. Shelton attacks. Yeah, the approach just not good enough, and Shelton punishes it with the backhand cross court,
yeah.
and eventually picks of Shelton at the net.
Good stuff though from both these guys. Well played match, high quality stuff. Credit to
Yeah,
Ben Shelton for making the second set as close as it was, staying alive a lot of the times in the first. Credit to Sinner for coming up with the goods at 5-all in the second, and then also the start of the tiebreak. And yeah, it was a pretty good effort. And I guess Sinner is going to be in the round of 16 now, and he's against who? Who does he play next? He plays Lorenzo Sonego. So he will play the 2020 finalist.
yeah. Godin is a lucky loser.
Yeah. And we could also get that rematch with Tiafo from a couple years ago if they both win their next round. Tiafo will play Monfils. The winner of that will play Sonego and Shelton. I mean, not Shelton, Sinner. And then what else have we got for round of 16 action? We've got Arnaldi and Rublev.
That's a good one. I really want to see it tomorrow.
And we've got Zverev and Nori later today. We've got Goyo versus Paul, and we got Tsitsipas versus Mahach. Are you sticking to your prediction of Mahach beating Tsitsipas?
Yes, I have to stick with something because apparently Felix Auger-Aliassime might not be losing today.
Damn it! I bet my house on it, Damien.
Huh?
I bet my house on it. I'm gonna be pulling that.
I forgot it was the match that I told people to bet their house on. Yeah, sorry. Well, I mean, they're still tied in the second set. So Ben's
Yeah,
Turin hopes done, more or less, yeah. But I'm not sure if
yeah.
he really had any hopes. I mean, if he wins Paris right now, if he wins Paris, he would still have a chance, and then he has a 250 after that. So basically, with a Bercy title, no. With anything else in Bercy, yes. So yeah, basically it's the title in Paris. But again, I don't think he was really a serious contender. Like I'm basically not going below the Minor as serious contenders. And Alex de Minor's chances could come on soon, could end soon as well. Maybe not all that soon, but fairly soon. What time is it, John? Because John is asking me whether I want to come on for Arnaldi Rublev. 11:45 actually, so early tomorrow. Yeah, why not? I think we can pull that off.
Do we want to do? Oh wait, actually tomorrow would be kind of tough for me. Let's see.
Yeah. I'm probably not gonna not gonna want to do anything in the afternoon either. So
Yeah.
yeah, Arnaldi Rublev actually I could do. That's a good hour for me. 11:45. Um, tomorrow, yeah, 11:45 tomorrow sounds pretty good for me. It's before all the other matches in Vienna and Basel as well, which I like, since commentary sort of forces you to watch one of them only. So yeah, Arnaldi Rublev, I think we can probably handle that. I like that idea. You were talking about something earlier. I can't remember. Oh no, I was responding to the comment about Ben's touring hopes. Credit to Shelton for putting up this fight. Re-asked the question of Sinner. I don't know, Matthew. I don't know if you were here earlier. If you were, and this is a joke relating to that, good job, really.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the ask the question phrase.
Yeah.
If not, it's possible that it's just not a joke and wasn't on purpose, but. Anyway, that was a great match, I think, and certainly no signs of weariness, accumulated fatigue whatsoever for Ben. It was just so tight. Sinner coming up clutch on a few occasions, whereas Ben, it's not like he wasn't clutch, but the most important points in that 5-all game, some beautiful stuff from Sinner with the backhand sort of sharp angled pass, and then the forehand down the line as well.
Yeah.
Fantastic shot, and the aces down BP, and as well, of course, the tiebreak, sort of the ultra aggressive nature of Shelton's game and strategy may be hurting him a little bit there at the very beginning. Just a few errors, and then you can never really recover when Sinner is playing and serving like that.
Yeah. Good contest, fine margins indeed. Deserving winner in the end, I think, and yeah, and it just sort of continues our trend of these type of matches sort of following a similar pattern every time we commentate. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Who wins the first set wins the match, wins the second set as well, other than one, Shelton Giron, and usually it's not like a blowout in the second set. It's basically a 6-2 or something. But yeah, Sonego Sinner, they've had some interesting matches before, right? I mean, I'm pretty sure they've played this year in the indoor season. And it wasn't that great. But before, actually, they've played 3 times already this year, and Halle was the one where Sonego took a set. U.S. Open, it wasn't close, and Montpellier, the one I was referring to, also wasn't close. I think in Montpellier, a lot of people expected Sonego to like trouble Sinner in the quarters. He actually didn't. So yeah, it seems like Sinner has a significant edge there. Of course, it's all there to be played for, but after today's performance, I do like his chances. Sonego seems like much more of a mess right now, despite his 2020 Vienna final and having his best win ever as well in this event. It just seems like he is way more erratic at the moment than Sinner is. Sinner has this sort of feeling where you expect him to deliver at a certain level, and he does recently, just
Yeah.
every single time, basically.
Yes, indeed. I do expect Sinner to come through this. Well, really, I expect him to get to the semis. I don't know after that. Um, yeah, I expect him to beat either Tiafoe or Monfils. The match that will be very interesting for me is if he does play Zverev in the semis, and if Zverev manages to come through Rublev as well as Nori or Arnaldi. You never know. Arnaldi could pull it off against Rublev tomorrow,
Huh?
but I wouldn't predict it. I would still predict Rublev, but
Yeah. I mean, Rublev again. We've talked about it plenty of times, but like such a high base level,
yeah,
so it's hard to upset Andrei Rublev.
it
At the
is.
same time, if you're actually like peaking,
Yeah,
then you can beat
and you
him
can do
because
it.
he
Yeah,
kind of doesn't have a way to respond to that. So maybe in a way, it's both easy and hard to upset Andrei Rublev. If you're like on the absolute top of your game, you probably will upset him,
yeah.
more so than other top players.
It helps to
Whereas
have a big serve.
and Arnaldi
Uh,
sort of does. Do you
yeah.
qualify it as a big serve? I
Okay.
mean, first
Yeah.
serve for sure.
He definitely has the forehand to do some damage, and yeah, like he does everything kind of pretty decently well, like we saw at the U.S. Open. And yeah, he does. Maybe this is the spot for him, but
It
you
could.
know, I see that one being kind of very similar to the Popper match. In the sense, it's going to be a close two-setter, but I think Andre will probably edge it out. Yeah, the Tsitsipas Mahach match is going to be kind of interesting, just given the form that Mahach has been since the U.S. Open, and of course, Tsitsipas not all the way quite there. He found something in the last week in Antwerp, winning a couple of matches, then winning the doubles, and then playing a good match against Fils.
I see
But
some talk on Twitter about Shelton not having energy today, or like looking reserved. But that's how he has been in the last 3 or 4 matches he played, right?
yeah, he looked that way against Giron.
Yeah,
Honestly, for a lot of the matches,
Karatsev. I
he
don't know if
looked
Paul, but
behind.
Karatsev, Giron, and here definitely. So
Yeah, he definitely felt like the fatigue was at least playing a role a little bit. I mean, it's impossible for it not to. I mean, he went deep in Shanghai, deep in Tokyo, and then very quick turnaround here. So, but for the most part, it didn't really affect his tennis, and that's a good sign that he can play 5 weeks of 4 weeks of tennis in a row like that, or 3 weeks in a row like that, and then still play a decent first round.
he's done it before. Knoxville, Champagne, Charlottesville.
Yeah, he's done it before.
15 wins in a row. 2 finals against Chris Eubanks, 1 final against Alexander Vukic. Chris
Yes.
Eubanks almost did it 3 times in a row because he lost to Vukic in the semis there. And
Mm.
Shelton won the USTA wildcard challenge because of that. Of course, he didn't actually get the wildcard this way. He just got into the Australian Open on merit, on his own ranking.
And also, he was
But
kind of playing a local person in the first round here too, because Sinner is from the northern
oh,
part of Italy, where it's very close to the Austrian, and he has some Austrian. He's like
maybe.
very close to Austrian. I would say, yeah. There's always this joke that he's an Austrian. Yeah,
Yeah, I guess he is from like Tyrol or whatever, right? The
yeah,
upper part. Hmm. Uh, yeah, I don't know about the argument, but it was a good showing. It definitely nothing wrong here from Ben. Maybe was just really throwing it out there and like being super aggressive on these second serve returns and serve and volleying a lot of the time. But that's his game,
yeah.
and he almost managed to get Sinner to a third set with that, even though there wasn't any like actual. Well, there was an actual chance, right? 4-3 breakpoint up. If he gets
Yes,
that, he
yes.
probably takes it to the decider. But Sinner blasted an ace on the breakpoint. So yeah, Sinner Sonego, everything. You guys know everything
Yep,
probably, and yeah, we can finish it off here. So apparently, I'm going to be back for Arnaldi Rublev tomorrow, and yeah, see you then.
yep. Thanks for all the comments, and a fun 2 hours where we talked about many different things, including a whole thing on Polish Polish history.
And a
That's not
20-minute segment on Brandon Nakashima's career and where
Yes.
it's going.
Yeah, so we covered it all, not just the match that we're watching, but we talk about tennis as in a
And if you
mini.
want to check what we said about Brandon Nagashima and sort of check out whether we are right, he's gonna play against Arthur Cazorla later today. So feel invited to watch that.
Yeah. All right. Well,
If you enjoy,
I was just saying I'm gonna get going, and you know the drill. So there you go.
if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.
Play.
Inshallah, have on chauffeur. Shisha.
والله شوف فما يمكن 3-4 بالحق 3-4 أقل 3-4 من الناس اللي يعبدوني الكل كي تاكسيستي كي في الريستوران كي وقت مشيت انت
What we do, by the way, with players that we interview on a one-to-one basis like yourself, we've done Liam Brody, we've had Laura Sigmund on the women's side, and Ostapenko and many others. We often call them friends of the show. So randomly, your name will appear in the next few months, and we'll say, Aziz, friend of the show.
Well, I'm happy to be a friend of the show.
Aziz, nice to meet you. Good luck.
Thank you so much. Thanks for your time.
So I'm here with Jihen, and Jihen has been teaching me some Arabic, or Tunisian Arabic, let's say. So far I have Inshallah.
Yeah.
Okay, I had that before actually. What else do I have? I have Shisha.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I have On
Jabeur.
I'm not sure if that counts. Tell me, how do I say thank you?
يعيشك.
Yaishik.
Yeah.
And how do I say see you next year?
نشوفك العام الجاي.
Inshufa kalamanje.
Yeah, great. Inshallah.
Wonderful. Inshallah. Inshallah, of course. Thank you very much for being a wonderful host here at the Jasmine Open. And yeah,
It was a pleasure. مرحبا.
mahrabe.
مرحبا.